Hey peeps, again for you Mr. ATC for nos idea of housing throughout recycling. And as you may have seen it, the last project we've done was all about the serving tray, creating in a very simple way, with pallet wood, and for the kitchen, for outside, for your balcony, for your deck, for any place you would like to, because basically you can bring it in any place at home. And just before that, I've been making for you two benches that will be going also with a table. So today, this is the goal of this video, to show you a little bit how I'm creating a very simple table using exactly the same pattern, not exactly the same pattern, but pretty much similar. And you will see that at the end, it's going together. And guys, remember that this community is all about sharing beautiful ideas to recycle pallet wood, but not only pallet wood, recycle everything that we can at home. So feel free to share with me your different ideas via the ATC app showing up just above or maybe below on Facebook, and I will be happy to talk about what you're doing also to the community. And as you may have seen it already, we also have some other members in our community sharing some beautiful projects like this one here that you can see and you can also find via the ATC app. So feel free to go and take a look and let us know what you think about them. And of course, if you are new to our community, new to our channel, feel free to subscribe just right here. Then click on the bell to receive a notification every time I'm sharing new content with you. Then now we can start making a beautiful table with pallet wood. Alright, let's go. Alright, so one of the first things we will have to do is to collect the appropriate pallets. Then after that, start dismantling them. You can do that either using your hammer or your reciprocating saw. And as you can see, I'm always having some animals coming to see what I'm doing, and as I'm saying all the time, to supervise what I'm doing. So it's always nice to have some company. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so let's move on. As I was telling you, you can either use your hammer or your reciprocating saw, as I'm doing it here. But as you can see, I'm mostly using my hammer. Then I'm able to collect all those wooden slats, those pallet wooden slats, as you can see. After that, I'm removing the different nails, again using my hammer, but this time the small one. To at the end have this result with a lot of pallet slats that I will be using in order to create the pallet table. One of the things that I always have with the pallet wood is the fact that it's always a little bit, it's not completely flat on the side. So in order to work on this, I will be here using my thickness planner to flatten them up. Then here I am with the different pallet slats ready to be worked on. Et voila! So in order to start this design, I've decided to first start with the tabletop by cutting the different slats I will need in order to create it. First, I will have to use some long ones in order to create the long side of it. And remember that this pallet table will be measuring around 80 centimeter to 1 meter and 50 centimeter large. In order to make the different cut, I will be using my miter saw as always. So now that I have the different slats ready, it's time for me to assemble them and create the square for the tabletop. In order to attach the different sides, I will be here using my angle clamps And when they are all in place, I will be using some screws in order to attach the different wooden slats. But before adding the different screws, I will advise you, if you're doing the same thing, to pre-drill some holes and after that add the screws into them. Alright, so now that it's all done, here we are with the square. It looks more like a rectangle, but this is the base of our tabletop. Then to finish the top, I will be adding several slats next to each other, and again I will be cutting them using my miter saw. Then, in order to attach them to the square, I will be first adding some wood glue, then using my nail gun in order to fix them into their place. As a divider here, I will be using a piece of plastic with a thickness of 5 mm. So I just want to make sure that the space between the different slats is very small and not too big. And as you can see, the last slat that we have here is a little bit larger. So what I will do, I will be tracing a line on the edge of the table square. Then after that, using my jigsaw in order to remove it. Remove the rest, I mean. To fill up the different holes, I will be using some wood filler. Some wooden filler in order to close the different holes that we have on those pallets. Then we can move to the next step. Now that it's all filled up, I can put them on the side, put it on the side in order to dry out. Alright, so after that we're gonna move to the legs. I'm gonna take some long wooden slats in order to cut them at 85 cm this time to create the different legs. And for this design, I've decided to use 2 wooden slats for one leg. So I will be showing you in a few minutes, or I will be disposing them. And again, to make the cut, I will be using my miter saw. But keep in mind that you will be able, if you're doing the same thing, to use only a jigsaw in order to make each of the cuts. Alright, so now that we have all the legs ready, I'm gonna put them on the side and take some of the wooden slats that I have in order to cut them at 50 cm in order to place them on the legs, at the bottom, in the middle, you will see. Alright, so now that I have the different wooden pieces ready, it's time for me to put them all back on the work table and to start assembling. First, in order to assemble the legs to the table, I will be pre-drilling some holes to make sure that the wood doesn't break. Then after that, I can bring back the tabletop to start assembling the different wooden slats into it. To attach to the main top frame, I will be using some long screws measuring 3 cm long, and after that, drill them to the tabletop. Then turning it over in order to repeat the same process on the other side. Then repeating again the same process one last time in order to finish assembling the different legs. Please note that in order to attach and make sure that the different legs, the different slats for the legs doesn't move, I will be attaching them with screws. And if you want, you can also, if you're doing the same, add some wood glue. And remember the different 50 cm slats that I've showed you a few minutes ago that I was cutting with the wood left over? I will be adding them at the bottom and also on the side, on the top, in order to add a little bit more stability to the table base. And the last slat, the long one that you can see here, I'm adding it at the middle of the bottom of the tabletop actually, in order to make sure that the legs stays in place and doesn't move too much. Then applying one of my favorite wood burning method, the Sushugiban. Then sanding after that in order to remove as much as dust that possible. Then before applying a thick layer of varnish, transparent varnish, I will be adding at the bottom of the legs some pads, because this table is going inside, so it will be better to add some pads in order to have a good sliding effect. Then applying a thick layer of varnish to move after that to a light green paint. And of course the design will be, if you're doing it, depending to where you would like to add the green or your color on it. Then here you are for a beautiful pallet table for your garden. As always guys, that was Mr. ATC for another idea of housing throughout recycling. Then I will see you next time.